Alrighty, guys. Welcome to the redo of the Build a Passive Income Stream with Turnkey Websites webinar. We are doing this again today because I failed to record the webinar on Wednesday. So I want to do it again just so I can get a good recording of it. And if you're able to make it here live watching, even better. Kudos to you. I appreciate it if you're here live watching, because then you also get an opportunity to ask questions if you have any questions. But I am recording. I see the button there. It's glowing red. So I think we're good to go. So I'm going to go ahead and just jump right into it. And if you have questions, go ahead and ask them in the question box, the Q&A box here in Zoom, or in the chat box. Otherwise, if you ever have any questions after the fact, you can always just email me, and I'll let you know how you can get in contact with me towards the end of the webinar. All right, let me just get everything situated here. All right, so this webinar is a joint venture between my company Turnkey Websites Blueprint and GoWP, and we'll be talking about how to build a passive income stream with turnkey websites. I know that is a buzzword, passive income, and of course there's no such thing as truly passive income, at least as far as building websites is concerned, but it is largely passive, and we'll talk about a lot about how, you know, there's a lot of work up front, but over time, it's fairly hands-off. So before we jump into that, just want to give a shout out to the sponsor of this webinar, GoWP. They are the leading white label WordPress maintenance and support provider. If you guys don't know, they are basically will take on the support and maintenance of any of your WordPress website clients. And so I recently actually transferred a couple dozen of my website care plan clients over to GoWP because I wanted to focus more on the turnkey stuff, and I wanted to free up my time, and I didn't want to necessarily go out and hire someone because I didn't have enough work that would necessitate me hiring someone to do it, to do the support work for all the websites that I'm supporting. But it still took up enough of my time that I just didn't want to deal with it. So Brad and the team at GoWP onboarded me smoothly, and now they are taking care of the support for all of my website care plan clients, and it's been going great. So I cannot recommend them highly enough. They offer 24/7 support, one-off support as needed, monthly maintenance, and unlimited support plans. Check out the website GoWP, and if you want to sign up and try it out, use the code TURNKEY exclusively for you guys watching this webinar. You'll get 50% off any of the plans for 3 months. That's totally worth it just to check it out at gowp.com. All right, so today we're going to talk about who I am, because you might not know, and you know, want to introduce, give you a little bit about my background. And then we're going to talk about what is this thing called a WAS, and that stands for Websites as a Service. We'll get into how that is a kind of a cool phrase to think about turnkey websites, and we'll get into that. Then I'll talk a little bit about my turnkey website platform, what it is and how it's doing for me. And then we'll get into the nice technical nitty-gritty details about how to build your own turnkey platform. What are the hosting, plugins, themes, all of that stuff we'll get into in this webinar. And that's it. So basically by the end of this meeting, you should have a good idea about what it takes to build a turnkey and some of the benefits of building out a turnkey website platform, and then you'll have everything you need to be off to the races. So this is me. My name is Matthew Rodela. You can see in the picture I have a little dog named Peluche, and I also am wearing a uniform. I am in the military part-time. So, you know, between the dog and the military, the part-time military and everything else I got going on, I don't have a lot of time to be wasting with the long sales cycle of selling web design packages and building websites from scratch and all of that stuff. So that's why I love turnkey websites. But just a little bit about myself. I'm the owner of a turnkey website platform called TechSite Builder at techsitebuilder.com. And then I'm the founder of Turnkey Websites Blueprint.com. So kind of the quick Cliff Notes version of my background is I quit my job as an IT consultant in 2011. I started building WordPress websites for clients, like most of us listening to this call probably have. And I ran into some frustrations with that. Then I happened to acquire TechSite Builder, which at that time was just a WordPress theme, customized WordPress theme with some onboarding videos that were built for IT business owners to be able to install a WordPress theme and get a website for their IT business. I acquired that in 2015 and turned it into a turnkey website platform built on MultiSite. It's great because when I acquired TechSite Builder, the gentleman who owned it was selling it for a one-time fee of something like $200 or $300 with the theme and the onboarding videos and the training videos and stuff. And I turned that into a monthly recurring revenue product so that people would sign up for the website platform and then pay me a monthly fee in perpetuity. And that's great. It's great to get that paycheck every month automatically. And then fast forward a couple years ago, I launched Turnkey Websites Blueprint, which is basically me taking all of the experience I've learned in running a turnkey platform and then teaching other web developers and web designers how to create their own turnkey website platform. So that's kind of the progression of what I've been on over the last decade or so. Now let's talk about this whole concept of turnkey websites, or what I like to call a WAS. I started calling turnkey websites a WAS because websites as a service is a great way to kind of harken back to the idea of SaaS, or as we know, software as a service, which, as we know, is kind of a great way to deliver software. As a customer of SaaS, as I'm sure most of you are, you've signed up for some kind of SaaS that's out there. You know, it's very convenient to just pay a monthly fee to have access to this great software in the cloud, so you don't need to install it on your computer. You don't need to worry about updating the software and reinstalling it and all of that stuff that was really annoying about traditional software. The same concept, I think, applies greatly to turnkey websites, where the user of the turnkey website platform doesn't need to worry about installing WordPress or keeping it updated or installing plugins or any of that stuff. They just sign up for a service that has all of the tools already installed and ready to go. It has a beautiful theme, and it's all built for their particular niche. So that's kind of why I like calling it a WAS, because it makes you have the same mindset as, okay, this is a SaaS. And that's really kind of how I want to approach turnkey websites. So really, it's a WAS is turnkey websites, but it takes it a step further, and it says it's turnkey websites delivered automatically via WordPress MultiSite. So the concept of turnkey is, as most of us know, basically something that's kind of pre-built that you can then just provide over and over again. So if you think about, a turnkey, the phrase turnkey is popular in real estate, where, you can take a house that's already remodeled and maybe even furnished and just turn that around and sell it. And it's all done for you. That's kind of the same application for turnkey websites. You take a website that's pretty much built already and just copy it over and over again and sell it to as many people as want to buy it. And you make all that automated. So with a WAS, you're focused on scale and monthly recurring revenue, whereas in the traditional website delivery model, you're focused on going after those big fish, getting those big, projects, and then you kind of you have those one-time big project big project fees. So you're getting paid a nice big chunk of money, but then after that, unless you get them on a care plan, that's it. Whereas with WAS, it's all about, there's no choice but for them to go on a monthly recurring plan. And then it's very easy to scale because you're not doing the work for every client, you're not doing any work. You're just doing all of the work upfront to build the system. And then you can scale it to infinity after that. So the benefits to the customers is it's low cost for them. They don't need to spend thousands of dollars to purchase a bespoke website package, or pay a web developer to build them a custom website. And then for you as the website delivery, on the website delivery side, it's low maintenance. So you don't necessarily need to build a website every time. You don't need to continue to keep WordPress updated like you do if you have a maintenance or care plan for your bespoke websites. You do need to keep the turnkey multi-site updated, of course, but you do that once and it applies to all of your customers at the same time. And we'll get into that a little bit. Now, another thing that's a little bit different with the WAS model is it encourages DIY on the part of the customer. So customers are expected to build out their website a little bit. They need to add the content. They need to maybe change the colors around and swap out the logo. You're going to give them a starter website, but then they still need to do some work to get it up and running and customized to their business. And that's the trade-off, all right? They're not paying you thousands of dollars to do it for them. Instead, they're paying a low monthly fee to have access to a platform that makes it easy for them to do it themselves. Kind of the same way, that Squarespace and Wix and WordPress.com work. It's the same type of expectations that you're setting for the customer, that they are going to need to do a little bit of work, and you'll support them with that work through, good documentation and onboarding videos and stuff like that. But they are expected to build out their site a little bit. The big key to making your WAS successful, in my experience, is to focus on a specific niche or niche. And that is how you can separate yourself from Squarespace and Wix and WordPress, and how you can really build a platform that speaks to a particular customer so that you don't have to spend all the time marketing or convincing them that it's right for them. If you build a turnkey platform specifically for, dog walkers, maybe you have a scheduling app or a scheduling plugin. You have, lots of beautiful stock photos of dogs and people walking dogs, and the website is structured beautifully, and you have some example content, and it's all for dog walkers. Then as a dog walker, I go searching in Google for a dog walker website builder or whatever, and I see this beautiful platform with a low monthly fee that's built specifically for dog walkers. That's going to be a no-brainer for me to purchase that. So that's why it's powerful to focus on a niche, is that it really helps you focus your efforts and provide a solution that's perfect for your target market. So I put together a little definition when you're thinking of a turnkey WAS. What is it exactly? And I like to say it is a website you build once and sell to multiple customers in a specific niche. So again, a little bit of work upfront to build the platform, but once you do, then you can sell to multiple customers in a specific niche. It's delivered to customers in an automated fashion, and we'll get into how to make it automated, so as to minimize the amount of time needed for maintenance. And that's key, right? Because you can imagine that, there's some DIY components to this, and there might be some struggles that your customers have, and they're going to want support for that. But you're going to minimize that through automating a lot of the process. It is sold at an affordable price to attract clients who can't afford a full custom website build, yet need a more customized solution than what other website platforms offer. And that's how, again, by focusing on a niche, you're able to separate yourself from the Wixes and the Squarespaces of the world, but you're able to offer a more affordable alternative to your higher end website build projects. So this is a great kind of funnel for you to take those customers who come to your web agency and say, hey, I'd love for you to build me a website, but I can't afford to pay you thousands of dollars for that website. Do you have another alternative? And you can say, yep, I got this turnkey platform. You're going to have to set it up yourself, but it's very easy. And here it is. And you funnel them down to your turnkey platform. And then the reverse can happen also. Someone signs up for your turnkey platform, their business starts to outgrow what your platform can offer. Then they can come to you and say, hey, can you build me a custom website? You can say, sure. And then they can become a agency customer. So it's kind of a good symbiotic relationship between your turnkey platform and your web agency. All right, let's talk a little bit about my turnkey platform. So it's called TechSite Builder. Again, as I said, I acquired it as a theme. I turned it into a recurring turnkey platform on MultiSite. Currently, I have just over 200 active users on the platform. So those are 200 folks who have built out their website and are paying me monthly or annually for the privilege of being on my platform. Over the life of since I've been running TechSite Builder, I've had over 400 customers in total. The big frustration is it took me about a year to build it out. And that's because I didn't know anyone else who had done it before, and it was all trial and error. So, I tried a few things and failed. I had to do a lot of custom coding, and it took me about a year to put everything together. So from the time I acquired TechSite Builder till the time I launched it as a turnkey platform, about a year went by. And I learned a lot of lessons, and I take a lot of those lessons and apply them to this webinar I'm teaching you today, and also to the course that I teach as well. And, I was on my own through all of this for the first couple years until I started to build the Turnkey Websites Blueprint community, which attracted some other people who were also struggling to build out their own turnkey platforms, and we all kind of started learning from each other in the community. So now I'm earning a little over $3,000 a month in monthly recurring revenue, and that is part-time, right? So I still have my website agency where I build, and it's a small agency. It's just me and a part-time VA and a part-time developer. And, we still build custom websites, a handful of times. But now that I have the turnkey platform that's earning me a nice steady recurring revenue on the side, that's able to free me up to not worry too much about trying to find the next customer for my agency. I'm able to be more picky about the customers for my agency, and therefore I'm able to find better customers for my agency. So it's actually helped my agency to grow even more because I'm able to be more picky. I'm able to find customers that have a good high budget, and I'm able to deliver awesome results for them because I have this turnkey platform over on the side that's earning a good, healthy, recurring revenue for me. Last year, I made over $31,000 in revenue just from my turnkey platform. So, I'm sure most of you guys watching this, guys or gals watching this today, would love to have an extra $31,000 in revenue added to your business. And that's what you can do with turnkey. It's a great thing to just add on top of your existing products and services. And over the lifetime of TechSite Builder, I've earned over $100,000. So again, all of this part-time, all of this, on top of the agency work that I'm doing. And it's a great kind of, side hustle or additional thing that you could add, or you can choose to go into it full time as well. If I chose to focus 100% on TechSite Builder, I'm sure I'd have, 500 or, even more active users if I were focused 100% on it. But right now it's just very much a part-time thing for me, and I'm happy to have it. And the most beautiful bullet point, I think, of all of this is there at the bottom, that I only spend about 4 to 5 hours max per week on TechSite Builder. And most of that is actually my VA doing just answering support tickets and doing maintenance. Most of that I'm not even doing myself. So really maybe about an hour a day I spend on Tech Site Builder, and that's it. So it's very, very hands-off. And most of the time I spend on Tech Site Builder is answering support questions that have already been answered before. So it's basically just pointing people to existing knowledge articles, saying, "Oh, yep, yeah, we have a knowledge article about that," or "Oh, yep, we've got an answer for you." So and that's because Turnkey website platform makes it very predictable about what the issues are that your clients are going to run into, because every website is basically the same. They're all using the same plugins. They're all using the same theme. They're all, around the same niche. It's very easy to have very predictable support requests. So it's not too hard to answer those. There's just a nice little graph of the steady growth of my monthly recurring revenue for Tech Site Builder over time. That's the cool thing, again, about this platform is there's not too many peaks and valleys. It's just an overall kind of steady growth of your monthly recurring revenue over time, because once someone signs up for the platform, they stay on it for a couple months, they're very, very unlikely to churn, meaning they're very unlikely to cancel. Once they've got their website set up on your platform, they're going to stay there. The majority of them are going to stick around for years to come. So it's a nice kind of steady growth of recurring revenue. All right, so now that we know what turnkey websites are, what a WAS is, and we know about the benefits that I have experienced and that others have experienced with their own turnkey website platforms, let's get into the nitty-gritty of how you can build your own. So I like to approach it from a tech stack, meaning there's layers of technology that you need to stack on top of each other in order to make it all work and make it automated. So this is what the tech stack will look like for your turnkey. At the bottom, we start with hosting. And then on top of that, we add the website platform or CMS. In this case, it's WordPress MultiSite. And then on top of that, we have the functionality that's going to facilitate the automation of site creation and domain mapping, which is the key step to automating your entire process. Because typically, to spin off a fully functional and fully designed website on WordPress MultiSite, you would need to manually do some cloning and clone one subsite to another. And then to do the domain mapping, you would need to manually map the domain to your hosting. But there are ways to automate all of that. So that's really powerful. And then on top of that, we want to add kind of the maintenance aspect, which is the backup, security, and performance. And then on top of that, we have the themes that your customers are going to have access to build out their website. And then on top of that is the dashboard customization. So we're customizing the WordPress dashboard to make it easier to use, which is then going to reduce the amount of support tickets you receive. A key concept of building out a turnkey website platform is simplicity. The simpler you make it, the better experience your customers are going to have, because they're going to know exactly what to do. It's going to be a pleasure for them to use it. They're not going to get bogged down in too many details and too many choices. The simpler you can make it for them, the better. And part of that is customizing the WordPress dashboard. Then on top of that, we have the user-facing plugins. So these are the plugins that your users are going to use as they build out their website, things like e-commerce or calendar plugins or, gallery plugins or page builders, that kind of stuff. And then finally, the last piece of the puzzle of the tech stack is your support. Some people choose to offer support within the WordPress dashboard. I don't like to do that. I like to use a third-party support service. So I use a Freshdesk for my support portal. But either way, that's kind of the last step in constructing a fully realized turnkey website platform. So for the rest of the webinar, I'm going to dig into a few of these layers of the tech stack. I'm not going to have time to go through all of them. But if you do want to learn in depth how to set up each of these steps, just stick around to the end of the webinar and I'll show you where you can go to learn more. But for the time being, we'll dig into a good majority of these. So I apologize if I'm sniffling. I'm getting over a nasty cold, and I'm still a little bit congested. So sorry for the sniffles. So let's talk about hosting. And I see we got some questions, so I'll wait until the end to answer questions. But go ahead and ask the questions in the chat or in the Q&A box, and I'll be happy to answer those at the end of the presentation. So for hosting, I recommend WP Engine. Now, just a caveat here, I'm going to be recommending certain plugins and tools. They are the tools and plugins that I use and that I have found over the course of watching other people build out their own turnkey website systems. These are the solutions that I find work best in the turnkey WP Engine. Why do I like WP Engine as a host? Because it's multi-site compatible, meaning you can click a button and it'll spin off a WordPress multi-site installation for you. If you use a host that is not multi-site compatible, then you can still probably install multi-site, but you need to go through some manual steps and some manual setup to get it working. You can go to the WordPress Codex to learn more about how to set that up. But for me, I just like clicking a button and having it ready to go. And you can do that on WP Engine. WP Engine has probably best-in-class support. I haven't found better support than WP Engine. 24/7 chat, phone, and email support. And they're willing to help you with any issue, not just issues with hosting. If you have a WordPress related issue or if you have a plugin conflict, they'll work with you to dig in to find the root of the problem. They'll look at the logs for you. They're really willing to go the extra mile to help you out. And so they've helped me through a couple issues with my turnkey setup. And I haven't found better support. You get the development environments included, so you get a staging environment and a development environment, so you can test things out. And this is super important with a multi-site, because you can end up having dozens, if not hundreds, of customers on your multi-site, and you don't want to be cowboy coding or updating plugins without testing them first. So it's super important to have those development environments available. But the key here, and I talked about this earlier, is the automated domain mapping. There are only a few hosts out there that have an open API for domain mapping, so that the plugin that I talk about later is able to hook into your hosting account and allow your customers to automatically map their domains through the WordPress dashboard without needing to interface with your hosting cPanel or your hosting, control panel environment. And there's only a few hosts that offer that. WP Engine is one of them. But, I always like to show pros and cons for everything that I recommend. One of the big cons for WP Engine is it is expensive. It's one of the more expensive hosts, managed WordPress hosts that are out there. But I think it is worth it. And once you start scaling your business, WP Engine starts to be a pretty good price for what you get. So that's just something to keep in mind. And WP Engine scales well. So you can start with their basic plan when you first start out. And as you start to get more traffic and more resource usage out of your platform, then you can upgrade your plan on WP Engine, and it's a smooth process. So if you're not able to afford WP Engine right out of the gate, then there are some affordable alternatives that are still compatible with the automated domain mapping. And those are Closte, Cloudways, and any host that has an open cPanel where you have access to a full cPanel. Then you should be able to set up the automated domain mapping. But there might be a little bit more of a manual setup process, whereas with WP Engine, it works right out of the gate. All right, before we dig into like the plugins and stuff, I just want to spend a minute talking about why I think WordPress MultiSite is the proper solution for turnkey websites. There are other solutions to provide a turnkey website experience. You can take a single WordPress install and clone it, and that's something that is popular that people do. They build they build a website once and then they clone it for different clients. You can do that. There's also something called multi-tenancy, which is something that you can set up on your server, where you basically have multiple WordPress websites that are all sharing the same files, some of the same core files, but yet they still have separate databases and separate plugins and separate themes. So it's kind of like MultiSite, but it's a little more technical to get it set up, and it's a little harder to manage. But why do I like MultiSite over all of those? Well, number one, it's stable and it's well supported. It's built into WordPress, right? It's built into the core of WordPress. It's fully supported by WordPress, and it continues to be updated and maintained by the WordPress.org project. Many hosts, many plugins, and many services out there already support WordPress MultiSite. It's a well-known platform. It's easy to keep your websites updated and consistent. And consistent is the key, because there are a lot of tools out there like Manage WP and Main WP and all of those tools that allow you to, manage plugin updates across multiple websites. But there's still room for variation, because you're still installing that plugin multiple times. So, say you have, 200 websites that you're managing through Manage WP. Manage WP is still installing that plugin 200 times. So you still have 200 copies of that plugin across 200 sites. Whereas with WordPress MultiSite, those 200 sites are only accessing one copy of that plugin or one copy of that theme. And it really comes into play with themes, right? Because if you want to update the theme that you make available to all your turnkey websites, instead of needing to make the change in one place and then copy that change to 200 websites, you just make that change once and it's applied to those 200 websites right away. All those 200 websites are using the same core files for those themes, and that's the key difference. Multi-site enabled plugins make it easy to manage network settings from a central interface. So if a plugin is truly multi-site compatible, then you will be able to manage that plugin from the network settings of WordPress and be able to make changes that affect your entire multi-site network. Things like applying license keys, things like hiding or showing certain modules across the entire network. You can set that up with multi-site enabled plugins. Theme updates and tweaks only need to be done once and they will apply to all your websites. I just talked about that. And really, there's no additional technical knowledge required. So with multi-tenancy, there's some technical knowledge you need to set that up. If you can manage a WordPress website, you can learn to manage multi-site. It's really no harder than managing WordPress. So that's why I like WordPress multi-site. It was built for turnkey websites, right? That's what multi-site was built for, to have multiple websites that are similar in look, that use all the same plugins and all the same themes. All the users are collected together in one place, and it just makes things much easier to manage. All right, so hopefully now that I've convinced you that WordPress multi-site is the way to go, let's talk about the plugins that you'll want to use to build out your turnkey platform. The first type of plugins we're going to talk about are the onboarding plugins, the plugins that are going to allow you to bring your customers onto your platform and automate everything. So the one key plugin that I think is non-negotiable in all of this is a plugin called WP Ultimo. WP Ultimo is purpose-built for creating an automated turnkey website platform. It automates the process of a customer signing up and creating a monthly payment plan through Stripe or PayPal, and it onboards them onto your platform. So it facilitates all of that, and it's a great plugin. I can't recommend it enough. It helps with the sign up, the payment, the site provisioning, and the domain mapping. So that's the other key, right? WP Ultimo has built-in domain mapping for your customers. So once they sign up for a website on your platform, then they can just go into the WordPress dashboard, and there are instructions there on how they can map their custom domain to their website. And then if you use the right hosting, then WP Ultimo will connect automatically to that hosting to map the domain to your host as well. And so all of that's facilitated by the WP Ultimo plugin. Some alternatives to WP Ultimo. One is Restrict Content Pro. Restrict Content Pro is a membership plugin, but it has a site creation add-on that's made for MultiSite. So if your turnkey platform is going to have a big membership component to it, maybe you want to have a members area where they can download other resources or have access to training videos or something like that, then Restrict Content Pro might be a good one to use. I used Restrict Content Pro on Tech Site Builder for a long time, and it worked great. Another plugin is ProSites. It should be ProSites, not ProSite. That's a plugin by WPMU Dev, and the ProSites is very much like WP Ultimo, except that it's just not as good. It's not as slick. It's a little clunky and cumbersome and confusing. So I don't recommend it as much as I recommend WP Ultimo. However, if you already have a subscription to WPMU Dev and their suite of plugins, then you might want to give ProSites a try. It can get the job done for you. All right, some other onboarding plugins. One that I like is WPMU Dev's Ultimate Branding plugin. This one allows you to rebrand the dashboard area of your WordPress dashboard. So, you can change colors, you can swap out the logo, you can totally replace any mention of WordPress with instead mention of your company or your logo. So it looks like the dashboard is your company's dashboard and it's owned by your company. And that's great because that just helps, lessen the confusion for your customers. Your customer says, hey, I signed up for Tech Site Builder, but yet in the dashboard it says WordPress. So what am I really using? Am I using Tech Site Builder or am I using WordPress? So if you just rebrand everything in the dashboard, it makes that less confusing for your customers. Take a drink of water here. Another plugin I like is Admin Menu Editor Pro. This allows you to edit the dashboard menus in WordPress. So you can edit and rearrange the admin menu in the dashboard. You can edit and rename menu items or change the order. Or what I really like, the big aspect of it that I like is to hide certain menu items. I like to hide settings, general settings and that kind of thing from the users. I like to hide the tools menu. And I also like to pull out like the customizer and the widgets menu out from underneath appearance and move those in as top level menu items. And you can do all of that with Admin Menu Editor. And Admin Menu Editor also comes with branding and toolbar add-ons. So you can do, the branding add-on is not as robust as the Ultimate Branding from WPMU Dev, but it still is good and gets the job done. And they also have a add-on where you can edit the WordPress toolbar. And another plugin, so another plugin you can look for is to reskin the WordPress dashboard. So reskin or retheme the WordPress dashboard. So kind of like how you can apply a theme to the front end of your website, there are also themes that you can apply to the dashboard of WordPress that totally change the way WordPress looks. you know, the coloring and the structure of how everything is arranged, so that it is really unrecognizable as WordPress. And again, if you want to kind of make it look like it's your own platform instead of just you know, WordPress, then look into one of these dashboard themes. My favorite is Material WP. You can find that on Code Canyon, and it's by the same maker as WP Ultimo. Another one is client side, and there's the URL to find that. So those are the two I like: Material WP and client side for retheming your WordPress dashboard. All right, let's get into some WordPress multi-site maintenance plugins. So there, with MultiSite and Turnkey, there are specific plugins that you'll want to get the job done for MultiSite. So for backups, I like Updraft Plus Pro with the MultiSite add-on. So when you get Updraft Plus and you get the paid version and you use the MultiSite add-on, the cool thing about that is with a typical backup plugin, you can back up WordPress MultiSite, but when you restore it from backup, you're restoring the whole network at once. Because with WordPress MultiSite, the MultiSite installation is basically counts as one WordPress installation, right? Because you just have one set of WordPress files, you just have one database. So most backup plugins aren't smart enough to be able to pull out single sites from your MultiSite. But Updraft Plus is smart enough to do that. So if you back up your entire MultiSite network, you can restore only a single subsite. And that's really important, because if one of your customers needs, you know, their website, you know, restored from 5 days ago, you don't want to restore your entire MultiSite network from 5 days ago. Otherwise, you're going to be overwriting all the changes that all the rest of your customers have made within those 5 days. So to be able to granularly choose one subsite at a time to restore is a beautiful thing, and Updraft Plus can do that. There are some others out there as well, but Updraft Plus is my favorite. For security, you definitely want to keep your platform secure. So a note on security. One of the other big benefits of MultiSite that I didn't get into on the previous slides is security is really good by default, meaning that for all of the subsites on your network, when your customers are administrators on their individual subsites on the network, but they have very limited access as administrators. So that means, for example, that they cannot install plugins or themes. They cannot have access to the theme editor by default. They also cannot insert iframe code or script code into posts or pages or widgets, which is something that typically administrators of single WordPress websites can do. But because you know, WordPress recognized that in a multi-site install, all of these administrators you know, can have the power to take down the network if they make a mistake. They gave them very limited power. So by design, your customers on your WordPress multi-site can't really do anything to bring down your website or to do anything malicious. So that's the good news. So even if one of your subsites, you know, administrators gets hacked, or someone, you know, breaches their account and gets into their site, really the only damage that can be done is to that individual subsite. They can't do much of anything to damage your entire WordPress network. That being said, you know, you still need to keep plugins updated, because really the main point of vulnerability for a multi-site install is you know, a vulnerable plugin. So you want to keep the plugins updated like you normally would with a single WordPress install. Keep the themes updated, keep the WordPress core updated. To help with that, you want to make sure to use a good managed host. So we know WordPress managed hosts have some security built in. For example, WP Engine has good firewalls built into their hosting. They also partner with security to clean any infected websites. So even if your website does happen to be infected, they will clean up the infection for free as part of just being on their hosting. So that's a cool thing with Managed WP. But if you still need a security plugin, I recommend WordFence. WordFence works well with MultiSite, and it really, keeps an eye on everything. And then for performance, I think the biggest thing that can affect performance with MultiSite is image optimization. So with that, I recommend a plugin like WP Smush or any image optimization plugins. But I like WP Smush because it's multi-site compatible, and you can set it up to just automatically compress any images that your customers will upload to their subsites. So it's kind of a set it and forget it type of thing. And of course, you just want to pay attention to all other performance aspects of best practices of putting together a WordPress website. All right, let's get into the customer-facing plugins. So with customer-facing plugins, these can be, it's up to you. It depends on your niche, right? It depends on what your customers need and what you want, what functionality you want to make available to your customers. But here's just some things to consider when you're thinking about what plugins to use. Look for or favor plugins that are multi-site compatible. Not every plugin is multi-site compatible. Most plugins will work on multi-site. You can install them and activate them on individual subsites, and it'll work just like as if the plugin was installed on a standalone WordPress website. But if a plugin is multi-site compatible, that means, like I said, like I talked about in a previous slide, that means that it has specific functionality that helps it function when you network activate it on your entire multi-site network. So you can maybe, for example, Beaver Builder is a page builder that works beautifully with multi-site because you can white label it. You can add or remove different page builder modules for your customers. It allows you to manage all of that on a network level. So that's something to look out for. All of WPMU Dev's plugins are multi-site compatible because that's where they got their start, was creating plugins for multi-site networks. So that's something to look into. Normally you'll see it mentioned explicitly on the plugin, the plugins page. It'll say, compatible with multi-site or multi-site features or something like that. You want to look for plugins that have minimal branding or, better yet, completely white labeled. And this goes back to why I said it's important to rebrand the dashboard of WordPress. You don't want to confuse your customers. If you're installing a plugin and that plugin has like its own, links to its own support or its own user forums or its own website, and it's got a weird name that no one's going to recognize, and it's got its own branding everywhere, that's going to be confusing to your customers, and they might want to reach out to that plugin's support to get help instead of reaching out for you or reaching out to you to get help. And then if they reach out to the plugin support for help, then they're going to run into issues because they don't have full access to your network. They might need to troubleshoot the code or whatever, and they won't have access to that. So it's better that they go through you for support, and it's better to facilitate that, to look for plugins that have minimal branding or are completely white labeled. And some of the plugins most of the plugins I'm mentioning today fall into these or check all of these boxes. And then you want to look for, you want to favor premium or well-established plugins, right? Plugins that are used by lots of people, that are very popular, that are well supported and work well. And a majority of the time you have to pay for those types of plugins because, if you're paying for the plugin, then the developer is serious about keeping it updated and supported and all of that stuff. I made the mistake early on of using a free plugin for a key component of TechSite Builder when I first launched it, and that proved to be a mistake because later on that plugin stopped being supported by the developer and started being buggy, and I ended up having to swap it out for a different plugin, and it was a form builder plugin. which was a pain because all of my customers had been, building forms on the old form plugin, and then I had to manually transfer them all over to the new form builder plugin, which was not a fun experience. So avoid that experience. Use paid plugins or premium plugins whenever possible. So one of my favorite multi-site compatible plugins is Beaver Builder, the page builder, and specifically the agency version. SEO Press is another good one. The reason I like SEO Press is it's multi-site compatible and it has white label features. So you can completely white label it and there's no branding at all. Gravity Forms is a great plugin to use. There's very minimal branding for Gravity Forms, and it's one of the most well-supported, well-documented plugin or form builder plugins out there, and it's compatible with multi-site. And then I tend to favor easy digital downloads for multi-site e-commerce because it's a lot simpler than WooCommerce, and there's minimal branding, and it's just the learning curve to be able to use easy digital downloads for your customers is a lot less than something like WooCommerce. All right, let's get into themes. Some things to consider when you're choosing the theme that you're going to make available to your customers on your Turnkey platform. You want to look for frameworks. So theme frameworks are themes that can stand on their own, and then you can create child themes around the main theme framework. So you update the theme framework, but that doesn't affect the child theme, and the child theme is where you can make all of your customizations. Genesis is a classic example of a theme framework. Where Genesis is the framework, but then they also offer a bunch of child themes that are compatible with the Genesis framework. But most of the main themes that are out there fall into the theme framework category. Simplicity. Again, you want to keep it simple as much as possible for your customers. So this would disclude a lot of the themes on Theme Forest, because a lot of those themes have very complicated back-end control panels where you want to find themes that have a simpler control panel and more more desirable that all of the controls reside in the WordPress customizer. And you want to look for themes that are developer friendly so that they're easy to develop for and easy to extend and easy to customize. The Beaver Builder theme is my theme framework of choice, and that's just because I'm using the Beaver Builder plugin, and with the Beaver Builder agency plugin, the Beaver Builder theme comes bundled with it for free, and they work well together, and it checks all of those boxes above. Some other good themes that I know work very well with turnkey platforms are Astra. Sorry about that. Astra, Genesis, which I mentioned earlier, Generate Press, and the Page Builder Framework. Of course, there might be other themes that you prefer using as well, but I know these are used by other people who are building turnkey website platforms, and they seem to work very well on multi-site. All right, so that's going to do it. We're about out of time, so that should get you going in the right direction, right? You know what hosting to use, you know what plugins to use to get everything set up, you know what themes to look into. If you want a little bit more of a comprehensive walkthrough of all of the things and how to set everything up, then head on over to turnkeywebsitesblueprint.com, download the free technical handbook, which is available there on the homepage, and that'll walk you through a lot of what we talked about today in a little bit more detail. You also have access to blog posts and resources to help you further in your journey to build a turnkey website platform. All right, and that's all I have. Also, there's a great Facebook group. If you go to Facebook and search Turnkey Websites Blueprint, there is a group called the Turnkey Websites Blueprint Community. And that's a great place to go to talk with a bunch of other people who are building turnkey website platforms. And we're always talking, about what plugins to use and what hosting to use, and asking technical questions and all of that stuff. So that's a great community as well. So we've got some questions here. Let me answer those really quick. First question is, could you use this approach with multiple website managers, such as main WP or managed WP, instead of WordPress MultiSite? I think I answered that question in the webinar. Why I would prefer to use MultiSite, and it really comes down to the automation. You're able to, so I'm able to have this automated so that customers can come on and sign up and build their website and have a website on my platform, and I don't need to be involved in that process at all. It's totally hands-off. Whereas if you were to create separate single WordPress installs that you would clone, you would need to be involved in that process somehow. You would need to clone the website. You would need to add your customer as a user on that new website. You need to add it to manage WP. There's some manual steps involved. And that's all well and good until you start scaling to where I am, where you have hundreds of people on your platform and you have dozens of people signing up every month. That's too much. And so I like to have it automated so that it's totally hands off. It's very passive, and I'm still earning money, and my customers are still happy. So that's why I like MultiSite. See another question: how easy is it to export specific websites from WordPress MultiSite to single instances that can be hosted on their own? It is possible. Most of the major migration plugins, like MigrateDB Pro and what's the other? There's a couple WordPress migration plugins. A lot of those have add-ons for MultiSite that you can use to migrate a single site out of MultiSite. It's definitely an involved process, and it's not the smoothest experience, but it's possible. For me, on my platform, I chose not to do that. Instead, if someone wants to, if they want me to build them a single website, I'll build it from scratch. If they want to leave my platform, then unfortunately, they will need to rebuild their website again from scratch. What I'll do is I'll export their content and give them the export file with all of their content on it. But I just choose not to go through the headache of trying to remove a single site, especially because I have custom coding that I have in the theme, and the plugins I'm using, I have agency licenses for and stuff. So it's just it's not going to be a good experience to pull it out of MultiSite. But I do know a lot of other people who are doing that for their customers, and it's definitely possible. Can you post the link? I can't see the full URL because it's truncated. The link to Turnkey Websites Blueprint, that's just it. Turnkey Websites, and it's sites with an S, turnkeywebsitesblueprint.com. You don't have to worry about www or anything like that. Just type it in and it'll redirect. That's a link to the website. Another question. Someone says, I'm about halfway through building my platform. Do you have any strategies for marketing your WAS? I think I have a quality product for a growing niche. Awesome. Yes. So that's actually, so sorry, I'm really bad at marketing myself, but I do offer a course for turnkey websites. It's not open for enrollment right now, but if you go to turnkeywebsitesblueprint.com and click the course, the course tab in the menu at the top, you can sign up for updates for when the course is released. Or if you just sign up for the Facebook group, if you join us in the Facebook group, I'll announce it there as well. I do offer a course that walks you through, everything from choosing a niche to building out the platform to launching it, to selling it, to scaling it, to maintaining it. Everything throughout the entire life cycle of running your turnkey platform is covered in that course. So we spend a lot of time, we spend an entire module talking about how to market your WAS. You know, I've had a lot of success with content marketing, organic content marketing. I have a podcast that I do that's around the niche that I serve. I have a Facebook group. I write blog posts, you know, all of that stuff. Other people have had success with Facebook ads. I personally don't do Facebook ads, but other people have had success with that. But, you know, it's the same way you would market any other service that you would provide. I tend to look at SaaS companies for inspiration on how to market my WAS because the concept is very similar. You know, again, you're looking for scale. You're looking to convert people very quickly because it's kind of an impulse buy because it's so low cost. So, you know, look for different SaaS companies and how they market to you and how they convinced you to sign up for their product and reverse engineer it. You know, you would build funnels and have lead magnets to build a list, and then, you know, it's all the standard ways of marketing products online. Cool. All right, guys. Well, that's it. We're out of time. So I appreciate the great questions. Thank you, and thank you for bearing with me and showing up for this replay. I appreciate that. And the recording now will be available, so I'll send that out hopefully later today. So you'll have access to that as well. Thanks, guys. I hope to see you in the Turnkey Websites Blueprint Facebook group. And thanks for hanging out. It's been a pleasure, and I'll see you around. All right. Ciao for now.